What is up, my dudes, and the one girl who still laughs at herself every time she says, "Witch, please." This is Bikes, Beards, and Brews. Let's kick that intro. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Before we kick this one off, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, hit that bell notification. New videos on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays, until it gets too cold. Then we'll go down to 2 videos. You've been warned. Let's get the other stuff out of the way. Want to save 15% on a Cardo communicator? Check my referral link down below. You want to support me in all my do-gooderness, like these guys here. Boom! You should also check that link, my coffee page, down below. You want to know why I'm asking you for money? Well, spoiler alert, that link is also down below. You should check it out. So, today we are heading over to Salem, Mass. Yeah, I know, Salem, Mass, but hey, it's October, and we're doing Bikes, Beards, and Booze. So, today we are diving into the Salem Witch Trials. And we are actually going to go to the location where people who were convicted of witchcraft were hanged. That's kind of a heavy subject, I know, but it's something that I feel like a lot of you might be very interested in. And it falls right in line with our season. So hang tight. I actually need to get gas first. I've been riding around with the light on for a little bit, and then we'll get back to all of this. All right, so we're heading up to Gallows Hill, and that's not actually going to be our final stop, but we need it for the parking, essentially. Gallows Hill was originally thought to be the place where a lot of the condemned witches were hanged, but not the case. After some actual like studies, research, digging, all that stuff, they found out that it took place close by, but not there. And we're going to the actual location. All right, so we're heading over to a place called Proctor Ledge. It was actually named after the son or grandson of John Proctor. He actually bought the land knowing that that is where all the hangings took place, including John Proctor, who was accused of being a witch after he basically got very upset and very fed up with the whole witch phenomena and kept telling people to cut the shit. So naturally, they accused him of being a witch. Overall, 25 people died because of the Salem Witch Trials. A few died in jail, 1 died from pressing, and then 19 were hanged here, up on the ledge, which nowadays serves as a backdrop for Walgreens, which is kind of odd, but yeah. This is also in a residential area, and there's no parking and stuff, so you'd want to be doing it up the hill at the Gallows Hills Park if you do come to visit. So if I recall correctly, it was actually John Proctor who was put up on the tree. He was about to be hanged, and one of the tests to see if somebody was a witch is if they're able to recite scripture, so a passage from the Bible. So witches would be given this test where they would have to recite a passage from the Bible. If they stuttered, if they made a mistake, if they stopped, anything like that, they're a witch. So he was up there, he was on the tree, they said, recite this passage. He did, no problem, flowed right through it.
totally fine. But they were still like, you're probably still a witch, and hanged them. So that's how hysterical people were about this whole thing back in the day.
All right, so I gave you some numbers there. I said that 19 people were hanged, and then some died in prison, one was pressed to death. So 5 died in jail waiting to be proven either not a witch or a witch and executed, and then 1 was pressed to death. So what is being pressed to death, for those of you who are not aware of what it is? So essentially what happens when you're being pressed is they basically lay you on some sort of slab, usually stone or something, because they don't want any give to it, and they make their accusation against you and they want you to admit it. And if you don't, what happens is they put a board of wood on you, and then they start adding stones to that board of wood, and they ask you again. So in this case it was Giles Corey, and they said, hey, you're a witch, and he said no. So they went to press him. They put a board of wood on him, they added a stone, they said, well, you know, you're a witch, and he's like, and they added another stone. And essentially what happens is this continues to go, and they will fill up that board with stones, and then once that board is completely covered in stones, they'll add another board and start putting stones over that one until you either A, admit the crimes that you have done, B, they all of a sudden believe you and let you go, or C, your body gives out and you are flattened because of all the weight that's on top of you. This was the case in Giles Corey's accusation. He was crushed. So that's the one person that was not hanged and did not die in jail. All right, so our next stop is going to be over at the Salem Witch Museum. I know I've showed you this before in other videos. The thing with them is you're not allowed to take video inside, and I'm not sure if it's when the show starts or just overall. And the inside room does look very cool, and I do want to try and get a shot of that because it really does tie into what we're talking about today. The Salem Witch Museum, apparently, I was doing a little like history research on it. It's kind of funny. It started as a church, which you can see just by looking at the thing. Not really debatable there. It became like a used car dealership or something for a little while. I'm not even sure how the hell that worked. But then from there, the people who own the Salem Witch Museum bought it, took it over, and have been just feeding into it ever since. I know, like, so the main room has been there for a very long time, and that's the one that you go in, you get the history of everything that happened, the names, the key players, stuff like that. Then they kind of put you into a side room where they go through like the history of like witches in cinema, our day-to-day lives, you know, fact and fiction, all that stuff. And it's kind of interesting. Again, I know I've mentioned it before, the mannequins inside the Witch Museum could definitely stand for some updates. And even the ones in that side room that it's newer. It's something that they've put in the last, I want to say off the top of my head, last 15-20 years. Yeah, that's how long I've been going there, because it wasn't there when I first started. But even the mannequins in there, I mean, it looks like they raided like a Walmart dumpster or something and then just dressed them up. So yeah, maybe guys, maybe call Madame Tussauds or something and see if she can hook you up with something, because you're hurting. You are hurting. Well, look at that. We're back at the Common. Let's see if my crosswalk parking theory works again. What are you doing, dude? All right, I'm going. Again, there's a ton of signs that say, you know, resident parking, no parking, stuff like that. So you got to get lucky. And oh yes, look at that big old space right in front of the crosswalk. Boom. All right, guys, let's do this. All right, so it's kind of in the background, but you can see a lot more tents and a lot more vendors here at Salem Common now, because, well, it's the weekend and that's how it works. But yeah, we're still heading over to the Salem Witch Museum. All right, so legit, it's not even noon. The Salem Witch Museum opens at 10:30 in the morning. It's sold out for the day. That's nuts. So if you are coming here and you do want to go to that, go online, buy your tickets in advance. I don't think I've ever seen that sold out, ever. That's nuts. So we're back on Essex Street, and I did tell you last time that I was going to fill up the closer to Halloween you got. And well, again, not even noon yet. So even the stores have lines to get into them just to shop around, look around. That's not even like places that have things like the haunted houses and all that. I mean, that is literally just the stores. So you've been warned. So the cemetery that we're in now is actually one of the oldest in Salem. It's right in between Essex Street and Derby Street if you're coming down to visit. I had always thought that some of the people that were actually tried as witches were buried here. That's not the case, because people were so Christian, so religious, that they couldn't even stomach the fact or the thought of being buried in the same place as somebody who is accused of witchcraft. But people that are in here are actual like pilgrims. There's at least one pilgrim that came over on the Mayflower. There were people that were involved in the Boston Massacre, and the person that built the House of the Seven Gables, which is also in Salem, Mass. See, that's not just, you know, something you had to do a book report on in junior high. It's a real place. Historically, I don't have any real significance to that last tombstone I showed you. It was just that I saw the year 1776, and that's crazy, man. So there's a lot of old headstones in here. So I showed you this monument last year. I'll link it up here. I'm highly suspect about this, Jason. So the question becomes, if the good Christians of Salem didn't want the witches or accused witches buried in the same cemeteries as them, where did these people end up after they were hanged? Well, they were cut down and dropped into unmarked mass graves. So no one's really 100% sure where they're buried, except maybe some of the family who could have slipped in the night, got back their family member, and buried him somewhere properly. But that's a pretty dark ending for that. So the thing about the Salem Witch Trials is once the whole like accusations of witchcraft started running rampant, people would accuse other people for the slightest reasons. If, you know, the breeze picked up the right way around somebody. And part of this, it seems like it wasn't actually rooted in the fear of witchcraft as much as it is in theft and stealing. So I mentioned with John Proctor, he became quite annoyed and aggravated with all this, and he started telling other people to just knock it off. He like would shout down his servants, he would shout down people around him, and it was very much like, hey, this needs to stop, it's out of control. He was then accused of being a witch, and the thing is, once you were accused of being a witch, all of your earthly belongings were taken away from you. So everything you owned, your property, your home, your money, like anything was just taken, because it was decided that you got that using witchcraft or whatever. So John Proctor and the Proctor family, they were a pretty wealthy family, and it would have been very easy to say, hey, this guy is a witch, in an effort to actually take his property. So whether people actually thought he was, or, you know, they just wanted to steal from him, that's up for debate as well. I've all but given up trying to tell this story while riding, because the traffic is just dumb. Between the traffic and the lights in this area, it's just dumb. So yeah, the other thing is, not everyone who is accused of being a witch actually was executed for being a witch. And, you know, not all of them died. You had the ones that died in jail. Those weren't the only ones that were in jail for accusations of being a witch. There were many others. And after the hysteria started to fade and kind of clear up, go away, a lot of those people were released and returned back to society. What sort of life they truly lived at that point, not quite sure. I mean, as I said, a lot of people, once you're accused of being a witch, you'd lose your property and whatnot. So a lot of these people probably returned to a life where they were poor, homeless. They might have been taken in by other family members. Not sure. Not quite sure how that ended. Yeah, the Salem Witch Trials, it's kind of hard to really get into those and make that a fun video. See if I get murdered. Nope. All right, 2 Karens, 2 minivans, you never know how that's gonna end. Yeah, so it's kind of a gloomy subject, but it is an important one, and you can definitely learn some stuff from it. And that leads me to my next question. Did you guys know any of that ahead of time? Was it interesting? Are you glad you tuned into this? Let me know down below. I'll definitely be curious about that. But that's what I got, so make sure you like, comment, subscribe, share this video with friends, share it with family, share it with that one girl you know who's like, oh, I'm a reincarnated witch from Salem. Like, she loves this stuff, trust me. See you all on the flip side.